Okay, so we don't want to get too involved right now because we want to bring out El Gato, the poet laureate. I told him that I would say a few words. A few. When we first met, how many remember Corky Gonzalez? Rodolfo Corky Gonzalez. Corky invited us to Denver for the first Chicano Liberation Conference. But at that time, I mean, he wasn't aware that I was a poet. We kind of knew about each other, but when we finally got there in '69, estaba Lurista. You know Lurista? So we all carried little pouches with our little poetry in the back. At any rate, after we began talking about the needs of getting together for raza and all of the kinds of things that we face together collectively, ahí está Tomasita, we came together and said that we would do other greater things. That was the beginning. And then we decided to do a poetry reading together for the first time. That raza poetry was, Now here in San Francisco, Casa Hispana, I saw some people from Casa Hispana. We were doing some really wonderful things. Maruja, ¿dónde está Maruja? No ha llegado, pero ya someone came out and said, Maruja's coming. And anyway, we were already doing some real fine things here in the mission. Casa Hispana, Amilcar had really began some real interesting things with Casa Hispana. I was still running around in the beach with these folks. But anyway, Corky, later we brought him here. At the end of that conference, this young man walks up, and we started getting into some real radical stuff about what we were going to do. Then there was somebody come up with an idea, why don't we bring the American flag down from the Denver courthouse and put this Mexican flag up, which you just happen to have. So we all marched, hundreds of us marched down the street to the Denver courthouse, Corky and all of us, the poets leading the way. And guess who climbs up the pole? This little skinny kid, 19 years old, up there, scurries, takes the flag down, puts it up there. It's Alejandro. And then the poets, all of us formed a circle. When the cops came, we formed a big circle around so that they couldn't, they wouldn't capture him. So he comes down and we're all struggling with the police and stuff. They were astonished in 1969, activists like that, poets bringing down flags, bringing them up flags. And we said, and if you continue that, we're going to take Denver back, take Colorado back from you. So they just said, okay, you guys get out of here. So that was the beginning. And then after that comes all of the Tintan, the Pochoche, all the different books that we published, Nina Serrano, Malaquia Montoya, que Raúl Salinas. We started publishing because we knew at that time we were not being published, we were not being recognized, and the need for each other to communicate. So we began all those publications. Several years later, we put out this one. Does anybody remember this one? Time to Greece, Incantations from the Third World. The foreword by Maya Angelou. 1973. Jan Mirikitani was myself and she were the editors. Glide Publication put it out for us. You should see the incredible lineup in here. I'm looking at it, right? Ed Bullens, Ishmael, Al Young, Fernando Alegría. It just goes on and on. In '73, that was the kind of vision that we had. Then Alejandro went on, became the director for the Cultural Center. And I didn't know whether I should mention. I didn't ask him about the other big thing that we did called Nicaragua. That we decided that it was time in '71, '72 to dump Somoza. Thus, you see that poster where he and I are coming down Mission Street with the Sandino flags and posters, 1972. But at any rate, I remember reading Valéry early in the late '60s and his visions of what poets should be and were, how he defined them, the poets that were academics and were good poets, but then the poets who were poets not only with good poetry, but that were activists, that were out there making things happen, creating a new world of poetry. And then let me then give you Alejandro's official biography. I said, this is your official one. I'm going to talk about you, man. Okay, Alejandro Murguia is the author of Southern Front and This War Called Love. They're both winners of the American Book Award. He has a book of nonfiction called The Medicine of Memory, which highlights the Mission District in the '70s during the Nicaraguan Solidarity Movement. Founding member and first director of Mission Cultural Center, one of the founders of the Rocket Dalton Culture Brigade, and co-editor of Volcán, Poetry from Central America. He's currently a professor at the Latino Studies at San Francisco State, author of a short story called The Other Barrio, which has first appeared in an anthology of San Francisco Noir, and has recently filmed in the streets of Mission District. Now, in poetry, he has published spare poems, and this year a new collection called Native Tongue. And as mentioned, he is the 6th San Francisco Poet Laureate, the first Latino poet to hold the position. Órale, gato. Thank you. So here we go. Compadre Gato.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What a joy and pleasure and honor to be here with you today. Especially, I think, for all of us, so important to be able to gather as community to celebrate poetry, to celebrate literacy, to celebrate literature, especially when so much of the world is racked with chaos and violence and intolerance and prejudice and war. So thank you very much for coming today.